Okay, good morning. How we doing? Today is Thursday, September 8th, 2016. Rich Van Tassel with you. Of course, we have the first game of the NFL season coming tonight. Right now, we are doing my postseason awards predictions. We're going to start with the MVP race. In this race, I'm looking at a couple guys. Obviously, Cam Newton. I think Antonio Brown has to be included. Derek Carr as well. Certainly, a guy like an Aaron Rodgers is going to be in the mix. And another important note, I don't think guy is going to win it, but I'll explain. I think Von Miller has to be in the discussion. We'll start with that reason why Von Miller needs to be in the discussion. If this team can make the playoffs, if that defense plays spectacular, and they are able to make the playoffs, which I don't have them doing, without quality quarterback play because you have a seventh round pick in there, I don't see how you could dismiss a guy like Von Miller being in contention for MVP. And even if that's the case, he doesn't have to be Defensive Player of the Year either, because Defensive Player of the Year is more of an more outstanding player situation. So I would look for that. My choice for MVP is going to be Antonio Brown. I really like Derek Carr. I know it's very hard for wide receivers to win the MVP. I think if there's ever going to be a wide receiver who does it, it would be Antonio Brown this season, especially under the new contract. I'm expecting very big things from him. So look for that. I know I'm going out on a limb with that one, but if there's ever a time that a wide receiver could do it, it would be Antonio Brown this year. So Antonio Brown, the MVP. Next up is the Defensive Player of the Year. The candidates I'm looking at, of course, J.J. Watt, numerous time winner. He's going to be spectacular again. Marcus Peters, we were talking about him yesterday, another guy I really like, the cornerback for the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Peterson has to be in the discussion as well. And Khalil Mack for the Oakland Raiders. Of those guys, and of course Von Miller as well, who we just discussed with the MVP situation. Of those guys, and remember, I'm not picking the Broncos to make the playoffs. That's why I'm not, picking Von Miller for any of these things. I like Khalil Mack of the Oakland Raiders. I think without Mario Edwards, he's going to have a lot of pressure on him to live up to, that the high expectations for this team this year. However, they did bring in Bruce Irvin. They really improved that secondary to give him a lot of time to be able to rush the passer, and I think he will be able to do it. And I think he's going to force some turnovers, and that's why I'm giving Khalil Mack the Defensive Player of the Year. But I really like Marcus Peters as well. I like what he does, and he turns interceptions into touchdowns. Which is, a guy like a Patrick Peterson or Richard Sherman, these guys may be better individually as cornerbacks when you're talking about voting wise and getting the hype. You look at a guy who's returning interceptions, he's able to, get the highlights that make it easier for voters to give him. But he does play in Kansas City, so that's a bit of a catch-22 there. Okay, Offensive Rookie of the Year. We're looking at a few candidates. Carson Wentz has to be in the discussion just because he's going to start. He's going to get a lot of minutes. Of course, Ezekiel Elliott has to be. This is offensive as well. Ezekiel Elliott has to be in there. Laquan Treadwell of the Minnesota Vikings, as well as Laramie Tunsil now on the Miami Dolphins. Tunsil is an offensive tackle, going to be hard for a tackle to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Of these, you can call me a homer, say what you want. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott, a lot of people would probably pick this, regardless if they're Cowboys fans or not, of course, which I am. But you look, that with or without Tony Romo, that was going to be to get back to that philosophy of running the football. He's a big physical guy. They're going to do it behind that offensive line, and certainly you just got to like this guy's skill set, and that's why I think he's going to put up big numbers and be able to get it. Carson Wentz, though, really, especially since he's a quarterback, if he can get that team at all competitive and put up some numbers, if they win 6-7 games, with the fact that he's going to get time, I would expect Carson Wentz to be in the discussion. Laquan Treadwell certainly would have been much higher up there, but once they lost Teddy Bridgewater, I think it's going to be tough for a wide receiver to be able to get that. So, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Ezekiel Elliott, Dallas Cowboys. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Jalen Ramsey, of course, one of my favorite players coming into this draft. I thought he was the best player in the draft. You also got to look at Sheldon Rankins, the defensive tackle for New Orleans. Shaq Lawson is hurt, so I don't see him being able to do it. You also had... Excuse me. You got Carl Joseph from West Virginia, the safety. He's not going to start, so that's why I'm kind of leaving him out of this. I like Jalen Ramsey. I know he had the torn meniscus. He may be late coming to the party, but last year I said the same thing about Todd Gurley, and he was able to come through. I love Jalen Ramsey. I thought he was the best player in the draft, and especially with the fact that I think that Jacksonville team is going to be improved. Still miss the playoffs, but certainly improved. That's why I will have Jalen Ramsey as the defensive rookie of the year. Coach of the year, pretty easy for me in this one. Jack Del Rio of the Oakland Raiders. I think that team's going to win the division and make the playoffs. You know, the other coaches of the teams that are going to be winning are guys who are established, have been there. You know, Mike McCarthy's, Pete Carroll's, of course, Bill Belichick's, all those discussions. Ben McAdoo can certainly be in consideration for this as well, especially replacing Tom Coughlin, but he was on the coaching staff there, and Jack Del Rio was the previous coach. So really, between those two guys, I just think it's not going to surprise many people if, well, not going to surprise many people. Oh, how do I say it? I think with the sentiment of the fact that the Raiders haven't been to the playoffs in so long, that's going to make Jack Del Rio be a favorite to win head coach or coach of the year in the NFL this season. All right, so there are your picks, my postseason award picks. MVP, I have Antonio Brown going out on a limb with that one. Defensive Player of the Year, Khalil Mack of the Oakland Raiders. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Ezekiel Elliott, the Dallas Cowboys. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Jalen Ramsey of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Coach of the Year, Jack Del Rio of the Oakland Raiders. So a little later on, we will be giving you my playoff predictions, Super Bowl picks, and all that stuff. Going through that, and of course then we'll give you the breakdown of tonight's game and the prediction for that between the Panthers and the Broncos. So be sure to stay tuned, and we'll see you a little later on. Thank you.